Say we're live. Hello and welcome to the MMA Live Chat Show. I'm Rich Davie and it's Thursday, November 13th, 2014. On today's show, we'll be discussing the UFC 180 Hunt vs. Werdum event, the WSOF 15 Branch vs. Okami event, and the Bellator 131 Tito vs. Bonnar event. And we'll give our predictions on some of the matchups for those cards. On today's show, we have yours truly, Fred Kirby, and Eddie Law. Thanks for taking part in another show, guys. I appreciate you all taking time to be here and joining me to discuss the UFC 180 Hunt vs. Werdum, the WSOF 15 Branch vs. Okami, and the Bellator 131 Tito vs. Bonnar events, and for taking time to give your predictions on some of the fights. Go ahead and say hello to anybody that might be listening, guys.
What's happening, Eddie? What's happening, Rich?
What's up, fellas? Back again for another one, and this weekend is packed to shit, so we got plenty to go with, man.
Yeah.
Good to see you, Fred, stranger.
Yeah, I know, man. It's been a busy week, dude. 2 young girls and both in soccer. It ain't nothing nice.
All right, well, we didn't really do anything as far as planning going for this show here, so we're just going to kind of like wing things here, so forgive us if we seem a little disjointed here, but let's go ahead and get started anyway. UFC 180 Hunt versus Werdum. Let's go ahead and talk about Mark Hunt versus Fabricio Werdum. And Fred, I know you're a big fan of Mark Hunt, so go ahead and open up here with that one.
Okay, yeah, man. This is interesting, actually. I don't know if either one of you two have caught the sit down that Ariel Helwani did with Mark Hunt here in Mexico. There in Mexico.
No, I didn't see it, but I saw you mention that.
Hey, listen, man. You guys got to go watch that immediately if you haven't. I don't know what's going on in Mark Hunt's personal life, but he seemed extremely distant and borderline fucking distraught. I'll put it to you like this. When the interview ended, Ariel Helwani said, how do you see the fight ending on Saturday night? And I think an exact fucking quote from Mark Hunt was, at this point, I don't even care. And then he stood up and he took off his shit and walked off. I'm assuming from the way the interview went, it sounds like he's having some kind of home issues, maybe with his wife or his children or something, but he sounds like whatever it is, it's really serious, and it's definitely affecting him in some kind of way.
Well, when you mentioned that a few days ago, I don't know if you guys are fans of UFC Tonight. I know Fred, sometimes watches it, but I don't know about Eddie there. But I watched UFC Tonight, and they had Mark Hunt on there, and they interviewed him. And he didn't seem to be quite as disjointed as you're mentioning there, but he did happen to make a comment about, well, happy wife, happy life.
I'm telling you right now, as soon as we get done, go watch that interview. I've never really seen Mark Hunt like that. Mark Hunt is usually kind of jovial and a bit of a joker, the KFC king and whatnot. This was not that guy, man. This was not that dude, and there's definitely something interesting going on with him for sure. And
yeah, I did see the video, but I didn't get a chance to watch it because I've been so busy the last couple of weeks, and I did want to see it so I could speak about it on the show, but unfortunately I didn't get an opportunity to do that.
It is definitely worth a watch, man. And when you add that in with the fact that he's getting called on late notice, they're in fucking Mexico where it's going to be hot as a son of a bitch, and they're at altitude. He's got a nasty weight cut to make. I fucking love Mark Hunt, and it would be probably the coolest story ever for him to win the belt at this point. But I gotta say, man, the odds are certainly stacked against him. Fabricio's well-rounded as fuck, and like I just said, all the shit that Mark Hunt's got going on in his personal life and the weight cut and everything else. All things being equal, this fight would have been really cool if Mark Hunt had the time to prepare and didn't have all this shit going on, but this fight, the way it's playing out, I don't see a way for Hunt to really pull it off unless he, gets a big shot in that first round, which is clearly possible, but Fabricio's got all the advantages going into this fight, that's for sure.
Well, from what I heard, Hunt has actually been down in Mexico, and actually where they're at in Mexico, the elevation is higher than that in Colorado. So from what I heard, he went down there well in advance to acclimate to the altitude and to be able to train and lose the weight there. So maybe that'll help him out a little bit. But again, maybe that's the thing that's giving him some of those issues that you're talking about mentally. Because again, I don't know if any of you guys have heard that happy wife, happy life thing, but that's pretty much how it goes. If your wife isn't happy, you aren't going to be happy.
That's why I'm not married, Rich. That's why I'm still living the single life, because I ain't putting up with nobody's shit, bro.
Yeah, trust me. And even when you're not married, it's the same shit.
No, man. I didn't get to see the video, but I did see the Fred was talking about it on the forum there. But right when I read that, I immediately thought, okay, it's that damn weight cut. He's got to cut a shitload of weight. And he did head to Mexico literally the day after the announcement. I think he tweeted it out, put out a video on Instagram and all that. So he's been there for a minute now, but not I don't think long enough to acclimate fully for a guy his size and having to cut that much weight. It's definitely a ton of stress. And if it is the whole, he's having relationship problems or family problems, that's just stacking up right on Hunt. That kind of, that really sucks for him. But when I saw it was Helwani, I was like, well, shit, I'd be depressed if I was getting interviewed by Helwani too. Annoying motherfucker. Like, dude, what kind of stupid ass question you coming up with? No, I'm just playing. But yeah, no, I mean, it's just that it really sucks. And weight cuts alone make people cranky. That was my first assumption. But I'm gonna have to go see it just to see because I'm curious as hell to see exactly how it was. Because just like Fred said, Mark's always happy as shit. So
yeah, he took us on a last minute notice type thing, and from what we were hearing, he was over 300 pounds when he took the fight.
Yeah, he was well overweight. I heard that after that big country fight, he started going a little ham with the snacks and whatnot, and was definitely not really waiting on a title shot.
He's not the most svelte kind of guy anyway for a heavyweight. He's always got a little bit of softness around the middle anyway.
Man, I'm telling you, I cannot emphasize how much you guys need to watch that interview, because he was just also talking about how unlikely it was for him to be there, how he had no martial arts background, and I don't know, man. It was a very weird interview. I will be extremely interested if he ever comes out with what this was later on after the fight or whatnot, because it was, after you watch that interview, I guarantee you're going to be sitting there like, what the fuck? That was weird as fuck. Like, he's definitely, clearly his head is not in this fight. That, after watching that interview, that much is clearly obvious.
Yeah, I don't know where the two of them are ranked in UFC. I see that Fabricio Werdum is ranked number 2 heavyweight and Hunt is ranked number 5 heavyweight. That's not UFC rankings though, so I'm going to guess that more than likely Werdum is probably ranked number 1 in the UFC, and Hunt is probably ranked like number 4 or something like that. Do either of you guys know?
No, not the exact rankings.
Yeah, you guys aren't big sticklers about numbers and shit like that.
I'm not a fan of the rankings to begin with, so.
Yeah. Okay. Mark Hunt is actually a pretty big underdog, not large, but pretty big considering the power that he's got in that one punch. And if he lands on anybody, he gets that one punch on somebody's jaw, they're going to go out. And he was the only one that actually knocked out Big Country, right, in the UFC.
Yeah.
So you know that man can hit like a truck.
Oh yeah. You don't want to take a punch from Mark Hunt, but and obviously we always talk, especially with the heavyweights and especially in the 205s and the obviously 265 limits. It's one punch, you can go to sleep. That can end your night real quick. We've seen it over and over and over again. I mean, hell, we saw it last weekend with OSP and Shogun. So Mark Hunt always. Oh yeah, falling backwards, that reach, perfect. Just perfect landing spot on the chin. It was done. But Mark Hunt has that puncher's chance, and he's a puncher I really, really like, because he will put you to sleep if you just blink just for a second, and he's right in front of you. He'll put you to sleep. That being said, Fabricio Werdum, his striking has improved dramatically, as I saw in his last fight. So, I mean, who knows? But I think, Werdum better not even blink, because Mark Hunt will end his night real quick.
Yeah, he has improved dramatically there, but he also has a massive reach advantage and height advantage. He's 6'4", and Mark Hunt is 5'10", and the reach advantage is only 3 inches, but still, for Mark Hunt to be, reaching in. And I was watching, the critique they were doing on Hunt on on UFC Tonight, and they were really, touting him as far as his technical striking ability. But I think that's the Mark Hunt of old, not so much the Mark Hunt that we've been seeing lately. But I'm sure you guys will probably differ with me on that. What is your opinion about that? Do you think Mark Hunt really is this great technical striker that they were, touting him as on UFC Tonight?
Yeah. Listen, with Mark Hunt, I think it all comes down to where his mind is at. When Mark Hunt is fucking focused, absolutely I do. Not only does he hit hard as fuck, but he knows where to place the punches. That's why people like Big Country fucking bite the dust. I don't think he's the most technical fucking striker in MMA or nothing like that, but I think he's an extremely good kickboxer. I just think that Mark Hunt's a very mental guy, and when he's on and he's in the zone, he's a tough outing for anybody. But obviously, he's got these career hiccups, man, and I don't think that he loses his technique or he forgets how to fight. I just think that sometimes that dude's not there mentally, and when he's not, he ends up turning in shitty performances because of it.
Yeah. All right. So Fred, you said you saw Fabricio Werdum winning this one. How do you see him winning this one?
I'm sorry. What'd you say, Rich?
You said you see Fabricio Werdum probably winning this one. How do you see him winning?
Well, I mean, I would suppose the most likely outcome would be a third-round submission. Avoid the big bomb, slowly get Hunt tired, and then take him down. I mean, Fabricio's still one of the absolute best best in the world on the ground. So I think that the most likely outcome is a submission win for Fabricio Werdum. But as you said, man, Duke's striking is no joke at this point. If he gets Mark Hunt tired, third, fourth round, hot-ass Mexico, I could see him welling on Mark Hunt, too. I think that he wins this fight more than likely by submission, but a TKO wouldn't really shock me either.
Okay, Eddie?
All right, so Fabricio's going to come out. He's going to try and tire out Mark Hunt and either TKO him or in the third or submit him, in that same round. But I don't think he gets that chance, man. I think Mark Hunt's going to put up all that anger, all that frustration he has right now, put it in a ball, stick that shit around his fist, and shove it right in Werdum's face. First round knockout. You heard it right here, son. I'm telling you. Mark Hunt, son.
I think I'm leaning more along the lines of what Fred was going with.
Probably. I like to take chances, man. I'm an underdog kind of guy.
Yeah, me too. I do the same thing. I did the same thing on the last Tough Show. But, I'm also thinking that, Werdum is going to come out. He's going to try to, take advantage of the big height and reach advantage, and he'll probably look to strike a little bit, tire him down like Fred was saying. And then I, too, think that, it could be a TKO due to strikes, but, I think it's probably going to be a submission as well in the third round. So I'm going to agree with Fred there as far as the finish goes. I'm going with Fabricio Werdum by submission in 3. Any other
See, here's the glory of picking Fabricio Werdum. I want, personally, Mark Hunt to win. So if you're right, Eddie, I'll be fucking celebrating and fuck this pick.
Oh, yeah.
But if not, I look like the smart ass and I picked the right fighter. But I fucking hope Mark Hunt wins too, man. Yeah. Especially him going through all this shit. He deserves it.
Yeah, because, for the people out there who don't know, the UFC pretty much wanted to put an end to Mark Hunt's career. When they bought out, I believe it was Pride, correct? He was still with Pride?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and when they bought out Pride, they kind of like set him on the side there and really didn't let him fight. And pretty much that was like 5 years ago now, where they were pretty much relegating him to, the bleachers, and, they thought that his career was done and over with. But, yeah, he's making a bit of a resurgence here. So, yeah, it would be kind of like a Cinderella story for him, or a Rocky story, or however you want to look at it, coming back and, winning the interim championship anyway. But, yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. I like Fabricio Werdum. Been a fan of his for ages now, so I would actually like to see Fabricio Werdum win myself. But either way, it'll be a good fight, because then we get to see Kane versus, one guy or the other here.
Yeah, bite your fucking tongue. Hope to Christ we get to see Kane fight one of them. Jesus.
Yeah.
Well, I hope we can see Kane fight anytime fucking soon, man. I'm getting sick of shit waiting.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah, apparently he's got some problems that are a little more serious than what he was alluding to there with his knee. So.
I gotta say, man, I love the Mexican fight fans though. My boy Alvaro, I just got him hip to MMA and Kane, and he really got on the train. And man, Kane's been hurt. Kane's been hurt for so long since he's been an MMA fan. Like he was so stoked for this fight, and he invited his pops over, and it was this big deal. And like I had to call him and tell him, like, man, Kane got injured, and he was fucking pissed, bro. He was like, man, what the fuck? Tell Kane he needs to fix his pussy, man. This is some bullshit.
Well, I'm a big fan of Kane because I just love the way that he destroyed Brock Lesnar, though. You know, so I love the guy for that alone.
Hey man, you know what? Honestly, for this whole card, even the prelims that are gonna be on Fox are worth watching. The guys from Tough Latin America are gonna be fighting on there, and those guys are freaking sick. So it's definitely still worth watching.
Yeah, that'll be good. We'll get to see some of those guys there, and again, it's kind of these events where they have. And this is a pay-per-view, but these events where they have these Fight Pass events from the international tough shows, we really don't get to see these fighters here. But in this situation here, we're going to get to see them on the Fox Sports 1 network, which is a good thing because now people at least get to take a look at them without having to pay for a card to see who they are. Yeah. All right. Anything more on the main event?
Nope.
Okay. All right, let's talk about Jake Ellenberger versus Kelvin Gastelum. Fred, what do you think about that matchup, and how do you see it going?
You know what, man? I don't know what my fucking problem is, but for some reason, I just can't get too excited for this matchup. For some reason, I just barely give a fuck. I don't know, man. Maybe it's just because Jake Ellenberger's kind of been not really promoting the fight or been out of the way a little bit. I'm interested in Kelvin Gastelum to see, how he progresses. I guess he's interesting as a prospect, so to speak. But I don't know. I think Kelvin gets the win. He's a constant pressure fighter, and I think he'll pour the pressure on and avoid Ellenberger's big punch and eventually get the win. But I don't. Now, I very well could be wrong too, but I don't think it's going to be a barn burner necessarily. I kind of see Kelvin just wearing him down and maybe getting a third-round TKO finish or something.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I want to see what I want to see if Kelvin's strike game has evolved at all. Because I mean, it's not bad, it's not great, but it's there. He does okay with it. Obviously his biggest weapon is his wrestling, and I think that's what he's gonna end up doing. He's gonna try and take Ellenberger down and just elbow him to death. Just elbow him, cut him open, ground and pound, finish that fight by the second round TKO.
Huh. Yeah, I kind of like this kid. Kelvin Gastelum. I remember back on Tough there when he was the last pick on the Tough season that he was on, and he wound up winning the whole thing. Nobody gave this kid a chance, man. He just has gone on, and he also beat a hospitalizer there. What the hell is that guy's name? Uriah Hall, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Nobody gave this kid a chance, but he's just been proving himself over and over again. But this is actually his first top 10 fighter. I think Ellenberger is ranked like number 8 or so in the UFC, isn't he? Well, you guys don't know.
He's up there. Ellenberger's definitely his biggest fight. I don't know exactly what his ranking is.
I'm going to pull up those UFC rankings because
I got him right here. All right, so we're talking welterweight, right?
Yeah.
Ellenberger's 7, Kelvin's 11.
Okay. Right. There you go. 7-11. Maybe it will be a good fight.
Maybe we're lucky. No, I think it'll be a good fight. I think Ellenberger is not going to get taken down so damn easily, but Kelvin, like Rich was saying, I'm a big fan of Kelvin, just as far as him being just such a huge underdog on the show, and then winning the damn thing against the next Anderson Silva, as a lot of people were saying was what Uriah Hall was going to be. So I mean. We'll see what the fight how it goes, but I don't think Ellenberger has a chance, and that's gonna suck for Ellenberger because he's on like a 2 or 3 fight losing streak. So yeah, he needs his win bad.
Yeah, he's got a lot of mental pressure on him going into this one here. So, all right, so what were those predictions again, fellas?
You know what? I think Eddie just changed my fucking mind. I think you got a point, man. You know what? I don't know if Kelvin Gastelum can get the takedown necessarily, and I'm sitting here thinking, if this fight gets stuck on the feet, can Kelvin Gastelum last 3 rounds with Jake Ellenberger's power? And I'm thinking now, maybe he can. Maybe Jake can avoid the takedown and force Kelvin to strike with him. Yeah, but you know what? Fuck it. I'm Jake Ellenberger. First round TK.
Oh wow, first round. I'm gonna go Kelvin. I'm sticking with my pick, Kelvin Gastelum, second round TKO, because I think Ellenberger's gonna stuff a few of them, but not in the second round, because all that pressure on you from a legit wrestler is gonna tire his ass out. So I'd love to see that power happen when his face is on the ground or his back is on the ground and he's getting elbowed to shit, dude. So yeah, second round TKO, Kelvin Gastelum.
Yeah, I love the kid Kelvin, and I'm not a guy who typically picks first round finishes, so I'm going to go with Kelvin Gastelum by TKO in 2. So I think it's going to go that way, but it'll be interesting to see how that one unfolds there. Any more comments on this one before we move on to the next one?
Nope.
All right, Dennis Bermudez versus Ricardo Lamas. Comments on that one, Fred?
Okay, so is it safe to say that this is like the Mexican salvation for the Mexican card? Like, these two dudes are like, come on, man, Bermudez and Lamas, Jack. These are two real Mexicans fighting in a very relevant fight that seems to be going under the radar. Now that Kane bit the dust and fucking Diego's off the card and Kelvin Gastelum's fucking, come on, let's be honest. He's it. Yeah, he's a fucking reach. These two should be other than the Latino Ultimate Fighter fights, kind of the more get the Mexican crowd jeered up a bit. And it's a fucking great fight. Dennis Bermudez seems to have found a way to control his aggression. He's still very aggressive, but he seems to have found a way to be very technical with it. And still apply the pressure good and use a lot more technicality to his aggression than before, where he'd seem like he'd be a bit reckless. That being said, Ricardo Lamas is kind of a big step up in competition. Not a big step up, but definitely probably the best fighter that he's going to have fought to date.
Bermudez is ranked number 7. Lamas is ranked number 4 in the UFC.
Ricardo Lamas is a fucking beast, man. And, coming off of the fight, I think the Jose Aldo fight was his last fight, wasn't it? Was that his last fight?
I don't recall. I don't have that up in front of me.
I don't know if he's got a win since then, but I'm sure it'll be kind of easy for people to forget how good he was because of that loss.
Actually, his last fight was against Hakran Diaz, and it was a win on a UFC fight night in June, San Antonio.
How'd he win?
Decision.
Okay. Well, maybe that's why it escaped me. Either way, Ricardo Lamas is the beast, and so he's got to win. He's back on the horse. I want Dennis Bermudez to win because I think if he wins the fight, it'll be a shitload more exciting. But I think that Ricardo Lamas will probably win the fight based on superior wrestling and grappling. I think he'll control Bermudez and win a bit of a so to speak, lackluster fight. Decision.
Yeah, I mean, the way I see it is this is Lamas. Okay, Bermudez brings strength. That guy's a power dude. But I think Lamas just bringing the heart. I mean, we saw in the Jose Aldo fight, that dude has heart. It didn't matter how many times Aldo kicked the shit out of his legs. That guy kept coming, and he wouldn't stop, and he just ended up losing by decision instead of getting finished. So I think Lamas he's gonna be all heart again, like he always is, and he'll probably get this one by decision, in my opinion. I don't think he'll finish Bermudez. That dude's a killer in his own right, but I don't think Bermudez is going to. I think Bermudez is maybe overlooking the fact that Lamas can last 5 rounds if need be.
Yeah, I think most everybody thinks this one's going to go to a decision. Odds makers see this one as a flip of the coin here. Neither guy is really a huge underdog or a huge favorite, so this one, according to odds makers, could go either way. But I think I am going to go the opposite way, and I'm going to go with Dennis Bermudez by decision, since he's training out of Long Island MMA, and I'm originally from Long Island.
There you go.
Hell of a reason.
Yes.
It's enough for me, man. I'm cheering for all the Mexicans in the car just because they're Mexican. So fuck it.
True.
But any other comments on this one?
Wasn't you said Long Island? Wasn't Bermudez training with Hackelman for a while at the pit?
I don't know. All I'm seeing now here in his information is that he's training at a Long Island MMA.
For some reason, I want to associate with Dennis Bermudez with Hackelman at the pit for some reason. Because I was actually going to make that comment saying that I think his striking is fucking, like I said, he's learned how to still be aggressive, but throw some technicality in with his strikes. And I was going to attribute that to John Hackelman, but I may be wrong. I thought he was training with him for a while, though.
I do not recall.
Well, either way.
Any other comments on this one?
Nah.
Okay. Any other fights that you guys want to talk about real briefly on the main card for this one?
I'll just mention that the fight after that or before that one, Augusto Montaño against Chris Heatherly is a weird one for me because Heatherly's last fight was a loss to Ben Saunders in the first round by submission, and Montaño this is his debut in the UFC, and he's coming right into the main card of a big pay-per-view. Kind of tells me that the UFC have to reach a little bit in order to complete this card, especially after losing Diego and Kane. So kind of a weird fight to add onto a main card, but definitely interesting because we know next to nothing about either guy.
Yeah, and is that guy Montano? Is he changing weight classes for this fight or what? Because I see he's not even ranked.
Right. You know what? He looks. No, I mean he's listed as a welterweight on SureDog. And on UFC, it's a welterweight. He's a welterweight guy. He looks a little bigger in his SureDog picture, so maybe he might have used to fight at 185, but he's welterweight in this one, which that's what it looks like.
Hey, he's pretty tall, 6'2".
Yep. I wouldn't want to have to make that fucking weight cut.
Damn.
Quickly before we get off of this card, I just want to ask Eddie real quick. Who are your picks to win the Ultimate Fighter, man? I see my dude, Yair Rodriguez, El Panther, Pantera. Like I seen the dude's in the finals, right?
Yeah. He was the first one to get into that 145 final.
That's what I thought. I'm obviously picking him. I think he's going to win his weight division. Do you agree?
No, completely agree. I think Morales he's a freaking crazy striker, but. I think Rodriguez he's just too good everywhere. I mean, he's a pretty even kill guy, and I think he ends up winning that fight. But the other fight to me is gonna be way more fun. The 135 fight, the bantamweight, it's gonna be sick.
Yeah.
Which I think that one's Alejandro Perez Diablito versus Jose Quiñones, whose nickname might be the most simplest yet most fitting one. His nickname is Teco. And they're both really good. We saw them during the Ultimate Fighter Latin America. They're both really, really good, and it's hard for me to pick this one, but I'll have to go with Perez just because that guy's just a killer all around. Although Quiñones is going to bring the fight for sure.
Yeah, I didn't get to see any of the Latin American tough fights, so I really can't comment about them at all.
Oh, they were great, man. They were great.
Well, I do want to talk about one fight because I do like to talk about the ladies fighting, if that is at all possible. We have Jessica Ai and Leslie Smith going at it. Their fight has been moved off of the main card. It's going to be the main event on the Fox Sports 1 card. So how do you guys see that one going?
I think that Jessica Ai is going to get this will be her first UFC win, correct?
Yeah, her last one got overturned. I think it became a no contest.
Screwed on that. You guys remember the story on that, right? She got
the Pat Healy treatment.
Yeah, but it was a ripoff, man, because the UFC changed their drug testing standard for marijuana metabolites to 150 nanograms per milliliter, along with the Nevada State Athletic Commission. But fucking Texas has a threshold of 16 or 15 nanograms per milliliter. And Jessica Ai tested for 16 nanograms per milliliter, so she got kind of screwed on that deal.
Yeah, well, luckily for her, Daddy Fred doesn't give a fuck about any of that. That shit counts as a W in my book. So I think that she's going to come into this fight, and I think she's impressive in the end. I think Jessica I will control this fight.
Yeah, I think I got Jessica I winning this fight off of pure anger and frustration. I mean, she got that no contest done, and you know, Sarah Kaufman she annoys me just for the fact that she went on this huge campaign to get the fight overturned purely on the fact that that you know I tested positive for weed. I thought that was retarded, and that's why Sarah Kaufman annoys the fuck out of me. And I'm glad, and I'm not glad that she loses, but you know, fuck her in my opinion. But yeah. But Jessica she should be well. Okay, the fight against Alexis Davis. First of all, nobody really knew that was to take on Ronda Rousey, right? And losing that fight has to be killing Jessica I just because of the fact that Alexis Davis beats her and then goes on to get the shit kicked out of her by Ronda. But regardless, she got a title fight out of it. And even today, I saw an interview. I think she did with the UFC or UFC Tonight or somebody, where she said that if they asked her to fight Ronda Rousey, she'd be ready right now.
Wasn't that fight with Davis a rather close fight that went to
split decision? Yeah,
Yeah,
split
yeah.
decision.
I thought I'm just pulling out of the memory banks here, but I thought I had actually scored that fight for Jessica. Do you guys recall how you scored that one?
Exactly. I had it for Jessica for sure.
I don't remember, but I know it was really fucking close. It was. I know it was a really close fight.
Yeah, so she got kind of like two bad deals in the UFC so far.
Yep.
All right, so you guys are saying Jessica I wins by how?
Decision. I'll go with the decision.
Yeah, I think she gets a decision for sure. She just outlasts her and just gets a decision. Hopefully not a split one this time, but yeah, decision win.
Yeah, I'm going the same way as well there. I really like Jessica I, and it's so sad to see her get screwed kind of like twice in a row there, and again with that whole thing where the fight was overturned to a no contest for 16 nanograms of weed. I mean, she could have walked into the fucking room where, there was some marijuana smoking going on and tested positive at that threshold. So,
You know what's weird though? If you eat poppy seed pop for heroin or something like that, anyone ever hear that?
Yeah.
True.
How crazy is that shit? I'm avoiding that shit like the plague now. I never ate poppy seed before, but still, that
Man, I
shit's
love poppy seeds,
retarded.
but I avoid them now too, just in case you happen to get drug tested.
Yeah, can you imagine that? It's like, oh, we popped you for this shit. But like, dude, it was poppy seeds. What?
I had a fucking bagel.
Yeah. Einstein Brothers. You know what? That shit gets put out on Twitter. Einstein Brothers goes out of business today. No problem. Fuck a bagel. I'm just saying. How you gonna eat a bagel and then lose your job because you get popped for heroin? Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Get back to MMA.
All right. Any other comments on this fight or on this card?
Nope.
Nope.
No, sir.
Okay. Then let's go ahead and move on to the next event there. Let's talk about the WSOF 15 Branch versus Okami event. Dave Branch versus Yushin Okami. What do you guys think about that one, and how do you see it unfolding?
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not getting terribly stoked about this fight. Yushin Okami has a way of really bringing me down, man. He's a great fighter and he's extremely tough, but man, he's like watching paint dry as far as I'm concerned. It's a tedious task to watch him fight a lot of times. David Branch, on the other hand, is a pretty explosive grappler and could make this an interesting fight in that fact, in that if they clinch up, which they most fucking certainly will clinch up, this is a Yushin Okami fight, they're going to grab each other. David Branch can make it interesting, man. He can make it interesting. More than fucking likely, Yushin going Yushin, and he's gonna grind out and just maybe get a late finish. But that's how I guess I see this fight going. More than likely, Okami is going to do what Okami does and wear him down, grind him out, and get a UD.
Yeah, man. I think David Branch is gonna take a nap. He's gonna lose his fight by nap, and I don't mean by knockout. I mean he's gonna fall asleep when Yushin keeps humping him on the fucking ground. This is gonna be that shit the entire fight. That's the reason I don't like Yushin Okami fights, and I'm on the same boat as Fred. I don't enjoy his fights. They're just not entertaining. And WSOF got happy as hell. They got a big name out of a free agent, which is great, but not if he's gonna bore the audience to death and people are gonna tune out of it. But Yushin Okami has an opportunity now to change everything we know about him. For all we know, I flew to Thailand and spent maybe someone knows. I'm sure someone knows where he spent his camp at, but I don't know, so I'm just gonna say this. Okay, let's say for all we know, he spent an entire fucking camp in Thailand working and striking, and he's gonna knock the shit out of David Branch. Who knows? This is mixed martial arts. People are always trying to improve, but at the same time, just like Fred said, Yushin's gonna do Yushin and just ground and hump to a decision win.
Wow. Yeah, you guys are pretty hard on, I guess, the wrestling kind of guys, but I don't know. I find it hard to believe that, he could be, given such a hard time. But again, that's why he was cut from the UFC, because DFW doesn't really care for, those grinding kind of fighters who just lay and pray. But, is he really a lay and prayer? Or is it just that you guys just don't like that style of fighting that he employs?
I don't know. I guess I wouldn't label him a lay and prayer, but come on. The guy's not fucking Fedor Emelianenko in the guard. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm not trying to clown the guy, but he's not devastating with his ground and pound either. I mean.
Well, he outside the UFC, he's ranked, 15 or so. So, I don't really think a lot of people see him as a layer and prayer, but a lot of people just don't like the style that he employs, so that's probably why they give him a hard time. Mark Hunt, when he was on UFC tonight, he goes, I have a ground game and I could, go that way if I wanted to. He says, but people want to see a knockout because that's what gets people excited, so that's what I'm going for,
Yeah, I mean, he's got a. But that, though, it's not that, though. I think that most of the base mixed martial arts fans have evolved to a point to where it's not that. I don't need a knockout for it to be an exciting fight, man. I mean, Damian Maia is an exciting grappler. I can name tons of exciting grapplers that I'm stoked to watch.
You're talking about somebody who's like the elite of the elite, the submission machine,
Well, I mean, either way, there's lots of guys who are fun grapplers. Yushin's just slow and tedious. Yushin Okami is a lot like John Fitch. I mean, if those dudes were working for submissions constantly on the ground and actually getting them every once in a blue moon, it would just invoke a lot more interest. With Okami, it just seems like the dude,
Didn't he just get a TKO win over somebody recently?
Oh, maybe in fucking Bangkok, China somewhere, but not over.
Somebody who left their chin at home. If you got a TKO win or something like that, it's someone who left their chin at home, didn't bother packing it with them and fucking taking it to the fight. But now here's the thing: there's nothing wrong with grapplers. I'm a huge grappling fan. I love Metamoris. I love watching jiu-jitsu tournaments. But the one thing I hate is people that stall and just sit there on top of people. What did Danny Castillo do in his last fight? He thought he should have won that fight because of takedowns. But when he got that takedown, what did he do? Zero. Nothing. No elbows, nothing, punches, nothing. He did nothing and he ended up losing that fight, right? So that's what I hate. I hate grapplers that stall and just stay on top of you and go, did you use takedown? I got the takedown. I'm on top. Are you timing this shit? I'm on here for a long time. That's all they go for.
Yeah, I know, but we can't really fault the fighters for that because if the guy on top is controlling, the fight and the action and the man on the bottom can't do anything about it, and nothing is happening, and there's no, forward progress going on, or anybody trying to score, or anybody trying to, get out of the, the position on the bottom, then it's the ref's fault for that shit going on. So, kind of really hard to fault the fighters for that because the ref is the man who was supposed to stop laying and praying from going on,
Right, and I completely agree. It's not the fighter's fault. I mean, you get your W as whatever way you want, but whatever way you can. But I'd say, I'm just saying why I don't find those kind of guys entertaining at all. I mean, GSP, if it wasn't for the fact that a lot of guys made him stand with him, and he at least has to fight to get takedowns against some of his opponents. Otherwise, it's kind of boring. You know what I mean?
Well, in his later career, that's what he evolved into. But
exactly, and I mean, I was just people used to give me shit for saying they're like, oh, we're gonna go watch GSP fight. Ah, I'll catch the highlights. I used to tell them, and they'd be like, well, the hell is GSP? And I said, yeah, it's GSP. All right, if you're trying to go over there and be excited about a GSP fan or a GSP fight, I'm hoping the co-main's a baller fucking brawler fight, because this shit's gonna bore you to death. But again, nothing wrong with the grappler. I just don't find it entertaining. I really don't. But I love a jiu-jitsu guy that's looking for position, a wrestler that's looking for position and a way to get elbows in there and punches. A guy that's actually trying to do shit, not just get a takedown and wait for the round to end.
Okay, so the two of you basically think this one's just going to be a boring fight that winds up on the ground for most of the time and is going to go to a decision with Yushin Okami winning by decision. Is that right?
That's right.
Pretty much. I mean, I think that maybe actually Yushin Okami might get a finish in maybe the 4th or 5th round. But even if he does get a finish, I think it'll be something kind of, just slow and nonchalant, like maybe finishing with strikes on the ground late in the 4th or some shit like that. But nothing major.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm going with the decision for Yushin Okami as well. Let's move on here. What other fights on this card did you fellas want to talk about? Fred, I know you wanted to talk about this event, so.
The Justin Gaethje and Melvin Guillard fight is one of the other fights that really stands out to me. Actually, that's probably, what the fuck? That is the fight that stands out on this card for me. And I don't know if you guys heard any of the phone conference they had this morning or something with WSOF. I didn't hear any of it. But from what I seen people tweeting about it, I guess Melvin Guillard was really kind of putting on a show, so to speak, and really talking up and selling this fight. And I was sold on the fight before that, so I'm going to try to catch a little bit of that shit in the meantime. Man, Melvin Guillard makes a lot of mistakes. He's got a shitty fighter IQ. But other than that, he's kind of a dynamo, man. On the feet, the dude is a destroyer. And he's been around for a month of Sundays, so he at least knows his ass from a hole in the ground when it comes to grappling. He used to be terrible, but at this point I think he can at least muster up enough defense to make it through a round or two or possibly back to his feet. And Justin Gaethje has been probably one of the best fighters in WSOF, certainly one of the best fighters that WSOF has cultivated theirself and is what you would consider a homegrown guy. So, yeah, this is definitely probably the best fight on the card, in my opinion, and a really hard fight to call, man. I kind of want to go with Melvin just because of the shitload of experience he has, and the dude's fought everybody, and like I said, he's got a shitload of offensive firepower. So it's hard to tell whether Gaethje will be able to handle something like that. I'm going to go ahead and just side with Melvin out of experience, but Gaethje's the test in this one. We don't really know exactly how good he is yet, but this is that test where we find out whether he's, real or not.
Yeah, I didn't see the or hear the conference call either, but I did see Melvin Guillard make a couple of comments in articles that I read there, and he says he's going to go ahead and he's going to get, the win by TKO. So. TKO or KO, I think he said.
Yeah, no. Here's the thing about Gaethje. Gaethje's last win. Wait, first of all, the guy's undefeated, 12-0. 12-0, definitely deserves his credit. Last guy he beat was Nick Newell. The guy was one hand.
Yeah.
He beat him via TKO in the 2nd round. So yeah, you beat a guy with one hand. No disrespect to Nick Newell. That dude's done. Great things with what he's got, but at the same time, it wasn't a Melvin Guillard who's super experienced, not only in every promotion possible, but in the UFC, he was a very exciting fighter. So he's just, I think Gillard's gonna knock him the fuck into like next year, and then give him his first loss and take the title from him.
Yeah, he's got 47 fights. Justin only has 12, so that's quite a big challenge there. I mean, yeah, again, you're looking at somebody who's in a B-tier organization, and somebody with all that experience, like, Eddie just said there, not only in the UFC, but elsewhere as well. Yeah, so I'm going to go the same way there. I'm going to say Melvin Guillard by TKO, and 2.
Yes.
So
Sounds about right.
We're all going with Melvin, huh?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Any other comments on that one before we move on?
Nope.
Okay, this, Jessica Aguilar, she's going to be fighting Kalindra Faria, I believe is her name. Do you guys know who that lady is that she's going to be fighting? Because I've never heard of her, and to me it just seems kind of odd to have somebody like Jessica Aguilar in WSOF when she's not going to be fighting people that are really, because a lot of people think she's actually the best, strawweight female fighter in the world. So it seems kind of funny to have her over at WSOF, doesn't it? I mean, I've never heard of this Kalindra Faria. Have you guys?
No, I mean she's not a big name. She's had a lot of fights at an XFCI. That's based out of Brazil. It looks like most of her fights are in Brazil. So I mean, definitely haven't heard a lot about her. She definitely has her jiu-jitsu, and she's actually a pretty good striker. But a lot of her fights, I mean, she's pretty even keel. 6 TKO wins, 4 sub wins, 5 decisions, but nothing that really makes her stand out just by looking at the stats, right? Without actually knowing much about her. But I mean, hopefully she's exciting. She looks like she's a striker, so it should be a fun fight.
Okay. Fred?
Yeah, I've never heard of this lady before, but I mean, it's pretty much slim pickings in the strawweight division at this point. You know what I'm saying? Like, so they gotta. I'm surprised they found anybody to fight Aguilar at this point. So that I wouldn't imagine there's a whole lot of talent out there in that division running around that either the UFC or Invicta hasn't gobbled up at this point.
Yeah, you know who we do know though? We do know Angela Magana, we do know Carlos Esparza, and we do know Lisa Ellis, and this chick has wins over all 3 of them.
Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah, Jessica Aguilar has wins over all 3.
Oh yeah. I thought you meant the other.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's kind of hard to get.
I was like, holy shit, really?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's kind of hard to get excited for any win for Jessica Aguilar while she's fighting in the WSOF,
Yeah. I mean, like Fred was saying, slim pickings and WSOF right now for that weight class. But I mean, who knows? Maybe she used to fight in Bellator, and if Bellator gets that back, they should. I mean, as they should.
No, please.
You don't think they should get it? Really?
Well,
sorry. Go ahead and bake that.
Just fuck that. Go to the UFC. Fuck this. Let's not waste no straight. People think she's the best. Let's find out. Have her fight.
Well, she was. I don't know how long her contract is with the WSOF, but she just 2 days before the UFC announced that they were signing or starting a strawweight division, she had signed like 2 days before, and she was kind of bummed initially because I saw the comment that she posted on Twitter, and she said something to the effect of, "Well, imagine how I feel."
Oh, Jesus. Anyway, fellas, hate to do this, man, but I just got a call. So I think my sister broke down and she has my nephew with her. So I got to go run and pick him up. Appreciate the time. Good talking to you guys. And as far as Bellator, I'm going to say this. Tito Ortiz or Stephan Bonnar is going to end via arthritis. Neither one of them is going to finish the fight. Michael Chandler is going to get his belt back. King Mo's going to win. And Matt Hope's going to take Schilling's head off, even though Schilling is a lot taller. And that's just me being biased because I'm a Matt Hope fan. But I'll see you guys around, all right?
All right, bro. Have a good one, man.
You too. See ya.
Yes.
Okay, Fred. Your comments. I know you wanted to speak about Bellator. I guess we're done with WSOF. Was there anything else you wanted to speak about?
Yeah, that wraps WSOF up pretty much for the most part. So we can go ahead and get to Bellator because I'm gonna have to wrap it up here before too long too. So.
Me too. I'm expecting my wife home any moment now.
Okay. Well, let's do this then. Tito and Bonnar. Eddie summed it up pretty well, man. I don't know. This fight couldn't matter less in the grand scheme of things. I suppose it's 2 big names. I don't know. I'm kind of having a hard time staying super interested for it. I'm certainly going to watch it. It's got a lot of hype due to all the pro wrestling antics behind it at this point. As far as who wins this fight, and how it actually plays out, it's almost anybody's guess. Uh, Tito won his last fight against a blown-up welterweight, so fuck Tito. He rubs me the wrong way, anyways. I'm gonna say that Stephan Bonnar wins a relatively lackluster fight, and uh, Bonnar wins a lackluster kickboxing match due to the good takedown defense and not letting Tito get the takedown.
Yeah, I agree, man. This is not fucking interesting at all. I mean, Jesus. You know, it's almost kind of like a mockery, of the main event on the card there, to have this as the main event. I mean,
Yeah.
who gives a shit? This is like so exciting. I don't know whether this shit will wind my watch.
Yeah. Well, and this is just totally. Sometimes I'm all for the fan aspect. If you're gonna, if you have to, like the Nick Diaz Anderson Silva fight, I love that. Just as a fan, doesn't make a whole lot of sporting sense, but fuck that, it's a fun fight. I'm all for it. But when you got Mike Chandler,
Yeah,
fighting for the fucking, how the fuck is that not? That's your main event, man. That's your main event. These are your key guys. These are the baddest motherfuckers in that weight division of your organization. You got the Ortiz and the Bonner fight. I get that. That brings in the eyeballs. But you don't put that as your main event. That just sets a bad precedent, and it shits on your champions, kind of. So
yeah, I
fuck
agree
that.
because so many people are complaining about the mockery of these two trying to make the WWE esque type antics that they're trying to put forth, and I've seen a lot of MMA fighters not really appreciate that, but you know like you're saying, I just don't see how they put this as a main event when you got Michael Chandler as a co-main event. It's just kind of odd, but I guess they're trying to get their money's worth out of the big name UFC ex-UFC fighters that they've put on their roster. So I just don't see it being really exciting, and I don't see that fight actually selling any seats, in my opinion. But yeah, I'm going to go not so much with Bonner because I think he's a better fighter. I just think I'm not like you. I'm not really a big fan of Tito Ortiz, so I'm going to go with Stephan Bonner as well
Yeah.
by a boring decision.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think the fight. I'm not. I'm gonna watch it, but I'm not. I'm not gonna be happy about it. God damn it.
Yeah, I'll watch it too. Okay, any more comments on that one before we move on?
Nah.
Okay, Will Brooks versus Michael Chandler. Will Brooks kind of shook things up over there at Bellator. Michael Chandler hopefully coming back to recapture the title over there. What do you think is going to happen with that one?
Now this fight, this is where the card gets a little interesting. This is a fun fight, stylistically. Their first fight was a bit surprising. I think most people thought Michael Chandler was gonna run through Will Brooks that first time around, and he didn't. Um, I think Chandler has the better wrestling still yet, and I think he still has the more one-punch knockout power. But I think Will Brooks is maybe a better athlete and better with his jiu-jitsu. I think that he's better in the scrambles, and I think that he's a little bit craftier on the ground, where Chandler's a bit more brute strength and power.
Yeah,
That being said,
I did see that fight, but I don't really recall every aspect of it. But didn't Brooks pretty much just dominate Chandler in every friggin' way in that fight?
well, dominate's a strong word, but he won the fight. Make no mistake about it.
Convincingly though, right?
Yeah. I wouldn't say dominated him, but he did. He convincingly won the fight. He controlled Chandler for most of the fight for sure. Um, but I don't know. All that being said, for some reason, I feel like Michael Chandler is going to win this fight. I think he's going to come in and be a lot more serious and a lot more on edge. I think he's going to probably try to avoid clinching up and grappling with Will Brooks a bit more this time. He might have underestimated him a little bit last time, and I think he'll try to fight a smarter fight this time. And I think that Michael Chandler will get his belt back. I actually think that Michael Chandler is going to get the TKO finish late in the second round.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think that was the whole problem with the last time they met up. I think Michael Chandler did underestimate Will Brooks because I don't recall what the odds were for that fight there, but even looking at the rankings here, Michael Chandler is still ranked above the champion. So it's kind of odd.
Yeah, Brooks was definitely a big underdog in that fight, and I think it was right around the time when Eddie Alvarez jumped ship and went to the UFC, and I think Michael Chandler was probably still had his thoughts on that, and I don't know. I just don't think he took Brooks seriously at all, and this time I think it'll be a much different fight because he'll take him much more seriously.
Yeah, I agree with you. No, I think that's an understatement to say that he underestimated him. I think he
Yeah.
just, seriously underestimated Will Brooks. But yeah, I
Yeah.
agree with you. He'll probably take it more seriously this time, and I agree with you. I think he'll wind up getting the win this time around and get the belt back. So yeah, I'm gonna agree with you. I'm gonna go with TKO in 2 as well. Is that what you said?
Yeah, that's what I said too.
Okay. All right. What other fights on this card do you want to talk about real briefly?
I guess just briefly would be the Muhammad Lawal fight, and we'll just really briefly touch on this one because I think it's Videpo is the guy he's fighting. An ex-UFC washout. The guy took the fight on short notice. Pretty much King Mo's going to slaughter this guy. It'll be an exhibition match for Mo to pretty much come out and do his thing, which is kind of fun. But I don't see this being competitive whatsoever, and it's not really nobody's fault. What are you going to do? It was an injury fallout. King Mo had to have somebody to fight, so.
Yeah, and he's actually King Mo. He's actually in need of another couple of wins here because he had some unfortunate luck over there at Bellator when he went over because he was supposed to be the big deal and lost to Emmanuel Newton twice and then he lost to Rampage Jackson as well, and that's when he started bad mouthing Born Redmond there, and that's about the time when they had all that trouble where they had to shake up with the brass over there at Bellator.
Yeah. Bjorn's dick riding ass.
Yeah. But he did get a win over on.
King Mo's gonna dominate that fight. That's not really a fight to be too interested about. The Joe Schilling and Melvin Manhoef fight. That fucking fight is going to be fun. If you're a striking fan, that fight is definitely an absolute must-see. I don't think that fight gets out of the first round. I don't know if you know much about who Joe Schilling is or his background in kickboxing and K1, but the dude is a dynamite striker, and obviously Melvin Manhoef is a noted fucking legendary striker. This is going to be a great striking battle, and it's almost a mortal certainty that somebody is getting fucking slept in this fight. So,
like that movie. What was that movie? Somebody going to get knocked the fuck out.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Somebody's getting knocked the fuck out for sure, and probably in that first round. Like this will be a very, very high action, high paced fight right from the jump street.
Yeah. Well, back to King Mo there. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that is, in fact, another one of these fights where it's supposed to be a gimme fight for him because he's also a huge favorite by the odds makers there. And damn, it'd be terrible for him if, again, this is supposed to be a fight that he's supposed to win and he loses by spinning back first.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you. I think he's going to get the win here. It should be an easy win for him as well. I think I'm going with TKO in 2. What were you going with?
TKO in 1, man. King Mo is going to trash, dude.
Okay. All right. I guess that's about it there. Is there anything else that you want to speak about? Anything else on that card or anything else as far as breaking MMA news goes or anything like that?
Nope. That's about it. Like I said, just that Melvin Manhoef and Joe Schilling fight is going to be dope. If you're a striking fan, do not miss this fucking fight.
Okay, and one thing I did want to mention a couple of shows back there, there's all kinds of news that we've missed here because we haven't been able to sync up with everybody because we've all been busy in our personal lives. But a couple of shows back, probably more than a couple, probably 6 or 7 shows back, we did a show on Kung Lee, and Kung Lee actually wound up getting the OC to suspend the suspension. So they were in fact saying that the testing methods that they employed over there were in fact flawed, and that he was, being accused unjustly of doing the HGH or the TRT or whatever the hell it was that he got busted for there. So they said that, again, I wrote it. I think I wrote an article on it, or I did a show and spoke about it somewhere somehow. But it turns out that there was only one organization that could actually do the testing for the HGH or the TRT and MMA, and they said that more than likely, if it was done otherwise, by some other organization, that 9 times out of 10 the result was going to come back flawed. So that's why they overturned it, and they suspended the suspension of Kung Lee.
Yeah, I heard that too, and I don't know, man. It very well could have been. Maybe they did fuck it up, but I still don't necessarily think it just means for basically the way I understood it was what they said was that the lab was not WADA accredited, which
Right.
means that it very well could have been a fuck up. It does not mean that it was a mistake.
Right.
So,
Well, they were saying that the only ones qualified because they don't have the special substance, whatever that special substance is, to test for the HGH and the TRT. Only if you're a WADA approved lab can you get that substance to actually do the testing for the HGH and the TRT to get a positive, result, on the outcome of the testing, as far as accuracy goes, anyway.
yeah, so I don't know. Maybe he did. If he didn't, and he just got railroaded, and he just happened to take that picture, which just happened to make him look like fucking huge, I feel bad for him because it was just a really bad series of bad luck that led into him getting accused of that and shit. But I guess.
Well, and the good news is also that Anthony Johnson is back in the UFC. Apparently, things were all dismissed for him with that, issue that he had in his past there, and he is going to be fighting Alexander Gustafsson, and the winner of that will more than likely be fighting John Jones, I would assume, or Daniel Cormier should he win.
Yep. Yeah, I would. Yeah, definitely. That's a number one contenders fight, and thank God too. I mean, Rashad Evans would have been a great substitute had they had to make that fight. But Anthony Johnson's a lot better. It's a guy that John Jones hasn't faced yet, and everybody wants to see the Gus rematch. So with those two big lightweight or light heavyweight fights coming up, it's a win-win no matter what happens. Whether DC wins, whether Jones wins, whether Gus wins, whether Rumble wins, all of those fights are intriguing. So the UFC's put themselves in a pretty good fucking spot with those four guys in those two fights.
Yeah, and I would imagine no matter what happens, we're going to be seeing those four guys fight each other no matter what, whether or not it's for the title or whatever,
Hey, quite frankly, Jack, I could take winners fight winners and losers fight losers. With those two fights, no matter how it shakes up, that would work for me. I mean, all four of those guys, like you said, should probably fight each other, and they're probably, more than likely, no doubt about the top four guys in that division right now. And the only two of them that have fought one another is Gus and Jones one time. So yeah, it's a nice little mixtures of guys right there at the top that most of them haven't fought one another yet.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for all the guys that are in, the number 5 down to 15 positions there to get a shot because, those fights between those four guys got to happen, in any number of combinations. So, yeah.
Right. Yep. It's going to be good, though.
Yep. All right, bro. Anything else?
No, sir. That about does it.
All right, man. It was good to see you again there. I've been missing you there.
Yes, sir. I know I've been trying to get around to it, man. I've been busy as shit with these girls in the soccer, but I'll be getting around a little more often. I'm thinking that we should have a little time off here in a week or two, and it won't be so hectic. So.
Okay. All right, buddy. Thanks for showing up. Appreciate it, and we will see you next time, my friend.
Yes, sir, brother. I'll see you next time, buddy.
All right. Have a good one.
Later, you too.
Bye-bye.